Mic on. Audio looks good. Up we are. 8 o'clock. Okay. Nobody here. Oh, the usual. Good morning. Good morning. You say good audio. It's funny. I got the audio thing all set up there about 30 seconds ago, and a taxi pulls up in front of the hotel. He's still there. Taxi runs in front of the hotel. So I thought if I start the stream with that sound in the background, everybody's going to go. So. Lots of good chirpy chirpy. Okay. Good morning, everybody. How you doing after your weekend? Very, very productive weekend over here. There he is, pulling away. So, very, very productive weekend here. And some things I can actually chat with about and ask you for some testing help, I think. Let's get this organized first. Picking up exactly where we left off. No, I think I'll swing in the scope here, I think. Sorted out. Okay, you can see the job on. The Patreon chibis are mostly finished, ready for testing, and we're going to move to the share certificate. That's this year's share certificate. And the image, for those of you who didn't catch it, we're going to use Hokusai's. It's a scene from the Hokusai manga. In the original version, it wasn't a full color print. It was just black outlines with a couple of tints. I think it was a pink tint and a gray tint. There was no background. And I'm going to steal a part of it for this year's share certificate. This is not the cleanest, sharpest type of Hanstein. I just took it, I used Photoshop. I took the print we had, just took it in Photoshop. You can't remove color quite so easily. In some places it's easy to leave the black lines. In some places it's less easy. So, but this one's not so critical. The parts that I can't see I can make up as I go along. It's okay. It feels empty without the third person, Let's have a go. We sharpened up just at the end of the last stream, so the knife is now nice and sharp, ready to go. Yeah, look at that, nice edge on this. Ah, the third person in the drawing, yes, so. We're going to leave this one out, so it's okay. I don't put too much detail in these things, you know. It's supposed to be a pleasant, just a pleasant idea. And this block, actually, it's going to be quite hard, I think. It's a block that, piece of wood that we weren't quite sure how to use. It was really rough. If you look at the back side, there's some huge defects in this wood. Not only just the knots, but there's lines all the way through it where there's crispy, crunchy grain. If we tried to print color here, we'd get this would just break down. But for a print like this we're doing today, we're just going to use tiny spots, 4 tiny spots on the surface. It works fine. A place like this with a massive knot, we just ignore it. I'll be using this part here, and on the other side, I'll be using this part as opposed to this, which is completely unusable. So a piece of wood that would have been thrown away is going to get purposed for something useful. The YouTube count, I don't know if anybody was watching it over there, the YouTube count is coming up very, very nicely. So we're looking at maybe 3-4 more days now before we hit that major milestone on the YouTube channel. And we're at, what is it, 995 something as of last. In fact, I haven't checked this morning, my God. 995 something. So it's fun watching that, you know. It's like I remember when I was like 8 years old, counting down the days till Christmas or something, you know. So here you are, Dave's counting down the days to 100,000 subscribers. So. And we'll pretend not to care about how many of those are robots. I don't know. So. You guys are busy already. Look at this. Okay, as I mentioned before I started here, there is something you can, quote, help me with, unquote. I spent yesterday, Sunday, got up in the morning and thought that what can I do to make the day a productive day rather than sort of wasting it? I didn't want to start carving this because I knew it was for the stream. I'd finished the Patreon chibi, but didn't want to waste time. Yamada-kun and I were working on the collection, getting the collection organized, and I thought what I would do is start making the front-facing page for the collection. So as we get the collection data organized, people would be able to see it from out there. But I quickly realized that the last thing Dave should be doing right now is making yet another website and dumping another bunch of incomprehensible web pages into our chaotic web presence at the moment. So before I started doing that, I thought what I should do is spend some time on basic maintenance on the website. So I did that. I spent Sunday on that. And the Mokuhanga website, for years it's been split into two. There's been a large screen version of the site that runs in a wide browser window, which doesn't work on mobile. And then there's been the normal version of the site, which basically also doesn't work on mobile. So I spent yesterday, starting in the morning, working right through till the evening, and I believe now the Mokuhanga basic website is now fully responsive and works on mobile, I believe. Browsing all the prints, looking at the prints, the shopping cart, everything except the blog is now, I believe, readily visible, easily visible on mobile devices. But I can't test it. I have no phone. My only testing involved taking a browser window and dragging it as small as I can go and stuff like that. So if anybody's got any time to spare on this, if you go to mokuhankan.com, And it's the one that starts at index.html. And if anybody wants to poke around there with a phone and devices and mobile stuff, and let me know where there's still problems, it would be appreciated. So, and I'm sure there's many. And because many pages were changed yesterday, you might get a problem, which is because you've got an old page. So reload if you see something strange. The other question that I was trying to figure out is the question about how to deal with the octopus print. You know, we can't really just dump the octopus print into our catalog, because with a sort of a family-friendly website like we've got, we really don't want that illustration just popping up in the middle of, you know, people who are browsing through a bunch of Japanese woodblock prints. But if we don't let people know it's there, you know. So I tried to figure out a way to have that information available, but without making it in people's faces. So I came up with what I thought was a reasonable solution, but these are hokusai lines. This is not smooth. This is not smooth, delicate stuff. This is rugga. These lines are jagged, they're rough. They're not smooth, sweeping curves at all. Where are we? Okay, if you've got comments about the stuff, I'm not going to see them really going through here. So any comments about the webpage, please drop them in one of the emails or somewhere to me, if you will, please. Thank you, because I don't have, Oh, Andy is back, is she? Back to quote normal, new life, the new normal. Well, we do have an NSF warning on the section of the website that talks about the octopus print, but my problem is people that don't know it's there. How do we let them know that there is something over there that you might be interested in? So. Again, there's two websites now. There's the index.php website, the big full-screen browser. That's not responsive at all. That's designed for a massive browser window which doesn't shrink and doesn't do anything. Then there's the index.html part of mokuhanga.com, which is, I believe, responsive. And none of this is woodblock.com. That isn't even looked at yet. So anyway, again, I shouldn't call, throw me the comments. Thank you very much. And the audio is okay. The air conditioner out there is running. There it goes. Air conditioner off. So this is, of course, the second time I've carved this. That print I showed you a few minutes ago, I carved that. That would be back in 1999, first year of the Surimono albums. But it's not like I remember carving all these lines once before. But this is funny. This is for the share certificate. That we'll only be making about 22 or 23 copies of it. And then that's it. That's all. So each year we do a different design for the share certificate. And about 24 copies. So this is about the most limited of limited editions we'll ever be making here. But so it seems a bit silly. Some of the staff here looking at this, Dave, why do you do this? You're going to carve this whole print, 4 blocks, lots of delicate key lines and all this stuff for making 20 copies? That's it? Well, on the face of it, it doesn't make any sense. But when you think this is for patrons who are at the top level of support, and this is important and appreciated support, and I think we have to make sure we show people that it's not just tossed off. Yeah, cool. Thanks for the money. Goodbye. We have to show that. Yeah, thank you. Anyway, all carving time is peaceful, pleasant times. That air conditioner, all night long. I don't hear it. I sleep well, so I don't hear it, but it just goes crazy all night long. If somebody was here who was a light sleeper, they'd be just going nuts with that thing. Somebody asked the other day when I was mentioning this, they asked if I have been to the city hall or if I've complained about this or whatever, or aren't there noise bylaws and stuff like this. And there are some noise restrictions. They've got these deals where if it's over X decibels at a certain distance, all that sort of stuff. There is that kind of structure in place. But in real life, there's no way to do this. You can't get a guy from City Hall to come out at 3 o'clock in the morning, do the measuring and things like this, So, and also because of the lockdown, it's interesting. I had never thought about this, but it turns out that there's been a huge uptick in the number of people complaining about their neighbors. There was a newspaper story in the Japan Times about this a week or so ago. I would never thought about this. This is a reflection of the lockdown situation, in that complaints to the police and City Hall about noisy neighbors and what's the word, troublesome neighbors and stuff have skyrocketed in the lockdown period. So the idea that normally some guy gets up and goes to work and he's never around his house or whatever, but if he's been forced to be there in his house 24/7 for a few weeks, he is becoming more troublesome to his neighbors, or he is noticing that there is something troublesome going on, or whatever. And I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was skyrocketing, the number of noise complaints. So this is not the best environment for Dave to call up City Hall and talk about a noisy air conditioner from an office building. The other frustrating part of it is that I've asked and chatted with people here, my neighbors, the Kaicho, the guy who's the president of the Merchants Association. I told you about this the other day, I was standing out there and it was roaring, and I asked him, what do you think about this big noisy air conditioner? He says, what? Missing out on all the fun here. Sorry, missing out on all the fun. Yeah, comments about the website. Thank you very much. I'll read them all later. Please send any comments, whatever. Yep. Start a war with them about the hammer. I don't think they can hear what I have. It's a 6, 7, 8-story giant of a mall. It's the Rocks Mall, 2 or 3 blocks, and it's a massive, massive building. And somewhere up on the wall that faces us, there's all these vents and stuff. And inside the machine, inside the building, it's not up on the roof. Inside there's this massive HVAC system. And wow! Get in closer? I'm not sure. yup, 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 yup. Coming along. CNC blocks, it's been done, lots of stuff. We've got a print in the shop here that's been carved by CNC. We've got some that are carved by laser. There's a time and a place for all that sort of stuff. Did carvers have to stop when their close-up vision went bad? Yeah, they just got whatever laid off, or they moved to another part of the job. In the old days, it wasn't one guy making one print start to finish. It was teamwork. So the guys with the best eyes would, of course, do the part that was the delicate, and the people with that would use different. The whole thing is quite misleading, these days meaning the 20th century, the post-war period, this system of one guy doing one job. It's really, really not how it was done for the most part, We see on some of the old prints, there's a carver's name. It'll say carver, whatever. Well, what it means is it's his workshop that did it. It's like Michelangelo. You got his name on the painting, but to a large extent, it's Michelangelo's studio that did the work or whatever, And the same thing in the case of the old carving and printing. There were very few people working as independent solo craftsmen. They worked in workshops and teams. For the most part here, we're working, of course, as individuals, but this current print series we're doing, the woodblock pilgrimage, some of the prints are a bit complex, and some of the prints have needed extra blocks and readjusting and whatever as it goes along. So each of the prints has a primary carver. It's either been myself or Chon-san or Kawasaki-san. So there's a primary carver on the job. Then, not every month, but many of the months this year all the way along, we've had to do adjustments. So some other carver, whoever is around on that particular day while the printers are testing and needs something being adjusted, it's been myself or Chon-san who has made that adjustment. And when we put the prints out, one carver gets their name on it, but there may be other fingers in the pie partway along, That's just part of the game. We can't put everybody's name. Carved by Kawasaki-san, 78.5%, Chon-san, 13.2%, So just one person is the lead person and gets their name on it. Printing work we put out, pretty much without exception, most of our printing work, well, all of our printing work here is done one person start to finish with each job. Partly it's because we're not doing that many quantities. If you're doing like 10,000 copies of something, like some of the old kuchie were done, then you need a team. The sheets get passed from one guy to the next. But in our shop here, it's pretty much one person. I was going to say one man, one job. It's one lady, one job, You've also got the situation where if you try and double up with printing, somebody does a couple of hundred sheets, gets it ready with a few colors, next person comes along and screws it up. We have a real problem about paying everybody. So for printing, it's one person right to the end here. But in the old days, it was different. vacuum cleaner lady. What is it, 8:39? Is that the time when she starts? That hotel across the street, you know, night after night after night, it's totally dark up top, you know. I don't know if they have any guests whatsoever. I don't see people coming in or out. The rooms are all dark in the evening. All I can do is just hang on, I guess. Try and hang on. No idea. Are you getting the same magnification as we're seeing? No, I'm not seeing it as big as you are. I think you're seeing it bigger, I think. It's hard to say. How do you talk about magnification? You know, magnification is how close you are. So what's the... It's not stupendously magnified. I know. In fact, we have a lens on the magnifying glass here that cuts down the magnification, because without that, this scope would give too much magnification. I've got to be able to see the movement of my blade in my hand. So if it's zoomed in too close, just, you know, a tiny millimeters or so, it's meaningless to me. So what I can see, the circle that I can see through here is from here to... you can't see that. Soka. Let me try and move the thing just a second. Okay, there we are. At the moment, that's what I'm seeing. That's the top of my circle. That's the bottom of my circle. So maybe it's, if I do this, suppose I do that. Yeah, it's the horse. It's the horse. From the head of the horse to the tail, I can just sort of scrunch up and move it here. I'm seeing a circle about the size of the horse's head to his tail. And when I sit here looking down at it like this, there I see the horse's head to his tail. It's not that much different from real life, you know. It's 1.5 or maybe 2. It's hard to tell. It's something a little bit bigger than real life when I sit here looking at it. It's not really, this is not super 100 times or whatever magnification. The purpose is most we talked about just to stabilize it in the middle of the desk here. Has life returned to normal in Tokyo? Yes and no. The city out there, it's a normal shape. The number of infections seems to be fairly low. Movie theaters, concerts, sports are still totally out. Restaurants are take your chances. I'm still hunkering down. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just staying totally here, ordering in my food. We're moving into the same kind of bizarre situation that most other countries are now. You know, the lockdowns are finished and we're trying to find a new normal. How much to meet people and how much not to meet people. And it's going to be a strange world for a while till we try and figure out what this new normal is, And the special cases like airplanes and airports and stuff are going to take a long time to figure out, I guess, And our business here, of course, are at least 40% or so of our business, dependent on tourism, is history for the foreseeable future. Every other shop on this street now is back open, every single one. We are the last ones that is now closed. And some of my neighbors have been asking, Dave, what's going on? When are you going to open? Every other shop and restaurant is now open, and we are not. And the calls have started. I got a call. I'm keeping the shop phone in my pocket. I no longer have my old clamshell phone. That's history. So what I'm doing is I keep the shop phone number. I keep that phone in my pocket so that when people phone trying to get the shop, there's someone to answer. If we just let the phone sit down here and ring empty, it's not so good. And the calls have started. I've taken 2 in the past couple of days from a Japanese person saying, can I book for a print party? And of course, in both cases, I've said no. And they've asked, when can we book for a print party? And I've simply said that at the moment we have no plans of opening for such a thing. And I guess from a Japanese point of view, yeah, let's do this. It doesn't have to be just for tourists, but for me, the print parties, it's just negative all the way. Getting together in a small room, bad ventilation, crouched over a bench together, this is not the kind of activity we want to be doing in the present circumstances. And to open the shop, hire staff, pay all the expenses for it, for 1 or 2 print parties from Japanese people who never buy any prints, it's just not something we can even remotely consider doing. So. Even in the best of times, last year the print parties were barely marginal. Very high staff costs, very low price. And to try and do them now without the backstop of the shopping behind it, impossible. Now, I'm not sure what's happening here. This is mottling. This is this horse color. This is not to be carved on this block to show. Some things that tie up here. That's the shape of the horse coming up the leg and the end, coming up the leg and the end. That's the horse, okay. Okay. This is a line that needs to be careful and smooth, the line of the horse's leg. It's not your hook size zigzag, it's a nice smooth line. So. Do I think I'll open for the sale of prints in the foreseeable future, or is that it for the in-person part? The shop is still here. I mean, there's nobody outside. There's nobody coming in. Japanese people don't buy our prints ever, so there's no purpose opening for Japanese people. And there are no foreigners here. The airlines are stopped. Nobody can come into the country. So there's no reason for us opening the shop whatsoever. We haven't taken it apart. We're leaving it sitting here. We'll make our decision in late July and August about whether we close and pack it all up or whether we keep it, because that's when the lease runs out, up at the end of August. So no idea at the moment, nothing to say. So the modeling here, it's from the Photoshop thing. The horse had color here. So what we're doing today is we're going to leave just the lines. I'm cutting away everything that isn't, quote, black, unquote. So when you saw that modeling color here, that's just because I took this thing here from a Photoshop file. So I'm just using my eye here today just to pick out the bits that look like key lines. And if it turns out that I might miss one or something, if I get something wrong in this little package of, like here, for example, this is interesting. What they have is stones. He's got a sheet, a thing that he sits on top of the horse. And instead of having straps around the bottom of the horse, he's got stones with little strings tied to the end of this thing. And that keeps it in place. That's really interesting on the back of the tail. Why wouldn't they have had saddles and stuff? I guess part of it is this must go around the bottom of the horse. There's some kind of strap. So some of it is strapped onto the horse. Some of it must go around the horse's belly. This looks like it's tied on. And then some of it is just held down at the corners with weighted stones. Fun, eh? I guess there's people that know about this stuff. Do you think it's bells? I don't think so. I think there'd be no reason for bells there. I think that clearly that's at the corner and it's hanging straight down. I think that's stones to hold the corner down. What about opening the shop for non-Japanese people staying in Japan? Yes, I mean, if general, general commerce and stuff does get back to normal, we're trying to decide what to do with this. To open the shop, I need 2 people, and it's at least $100 a day for a staff member to do this. So I need 2 people, so that would add $200 a day for my expenses to this. That's a lot of money. I mean, that's not, means if we sell $200 worth of prints, that's not even close. We have to sell enough prints so that I can take from the margin there $200. So we need to sell $500, $600, $700 worth of prints to make just a break even. $500 is sort of break even. Now, one idea is do it by appointment, and we may do this. On the website, we may say, the shop and print parties are closed, but if there's stuff you'd like to come and look at, give us a phone call, we'll pop it open, and you can wander around while we're working, something like this. So we may do an appointment type thing. Curbside pickup and delivery, well, how does it work? I don't know. I don't know. We're not really, we're busy. We're busy, making prints, shipping prints. We're all busy. It's not like we're sitting here with nothing to do. Everybody is extremely busy. Lots of comments here. Oh yeah, someone's saying by appointment. Karen, if it looked like it made sense to do it that way, we could do it this way. Another option, which is very much on the table we're discussing, is, for example, weekends only. The Mokuhanga shop, starting in July, will be open Saturday, Sunday each week, stuff like that. That's another idea. At the moment, there's nothing in sight. It's Death Valley out there for us, and there's no reason to even think about it at the moment. But yeah, everything's on the table. As I said, coming up to that deadline in the late summer, when we do have to decide to re-sign another 3 years or let it go. Another option is a retreat, We didn't have this first floor of the shop. For the first 5 years we were here, And we could, that's another possible option, retreat from the first floor. Keep the second and third. They're all separate leases. Every floor of this building is its own lease. And we could retreat from the first floor, let it go, and go back upstairs, second and third, which we know we can physically do. That'll give us our workshops. It would give us a small shop space. Just go back to the way it was before we picked up the first floor. What's the shape of this hoof here? I can't see it. It's the second from the back leg here. I'm not sure if you're asking, I didn't see anything yet, but they will be asking about show and tell. I do have a couple of things to show today. Something new, something old. Something from the collection upstairs, along with another, like we saw the other day, another batch of prints received from one of our printers. This one came from Kawai-san over in Chiba. The Kawai-san who used to be one of our party hosts. He's just finished up another batch of prints, sent them over to me. They came yesterday, day before I think actually. And again, he hasn't hit another freaking home run. He's done really, really, really well on this. So we'll have a look at that, and we have something from the collection also to take a peek at. Conversations about making an offer on the building. We haven't had the big conversation with the landlady yet. Ideas are in flux, floating around. Part of the problem from us in that point of view is that with Tokyo coming back to normal, she sees the street, she sees shops open, she sees activity. She thinks now it's been down and we've had our rebound and that the V is happening and things coming back to normal. So I think from her point of view, and she doesn't know at the retail end exactly what's happening at the door. From her point of view, she is thinking, I guess, that the worst is over and they're through it, and now we'll go through. I don't know. What I was kind of hoping, as far as having a conversation with her, is that we would sort of wait until, oh my God, it gets terrible and the pandemic is sweeping the country and people are dying in the streets and that sort of thing. Then we would have talked to her, but that's not how it's gone. And she's probably thinking, all right, we're through this thing now, She knows sort of intellectually that Dave's business to a large degree is based on tourism. She does know that, of course. But I don't think she knows that it's 100 to 0 tourists and Japanese people, 100% and 0%, So I don't know, we may have sort of not lost our chance because it's not finished, but it may have been better to talk to her when things were looking more dire last month, I don't know. We'll see. She may just laugh at us anyway. What do you mean sell? That's family property. Get out of here. The whole thing may just be a figment of our imagination, She may have absolutely not the slightest interest in this. It's difficult, to have casual conversations in Japanese, in the language, If this was where I came from in Canada, we've been renting from this lady for 6 months. We know each other. She's our landlady, but we know each other. And you can, you'd probably be having a drink now and then and stuff like that. And you've got your business conversations. Lease negotiations are what they are. You get your lawyer and sit down and the real estate agent and you have those negotiations. But then also you sit and have a drink together and you can chat and talk about stuff, But here in Japan, you can't do that other half of it. You can't have the casual conversation. And if we did at some point bring up the idea with her that buying the building, this would dramatically change the relationship between us. If she said no, then that's it. We have wanted something and been refused. And now everything would be different. It would now be much more of an adversarial relationship. We didn't get what we wanted. And the mood would be, that's it, we are now hostile to each other because an answer of no came back, It's not something you could toss out as a flyer. Hey, Suzuki-san, don't sort of take this too seriously, but what do you think? What if we made the idea of making an offer to you, blah, 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 blah. And she'd laugh and say, no, this is I'm leaving this building to my niece when I'm dead, and stuff like that. And it could be handled on a more casual basis. But here in Japan, it doesn't work like that. Everything becomes so serious. And why did he ask that? And what are they thinking? What are they planning? How's our time? We okay? Can't see without my glasses. What is it? 9:03. We're okay still. Give me 10, 15 minutes more. We'll have our show and tell. Yeah, I think, having said what I just said, this thing about we're past the level of the crisis, I personally don't think so. I personally think that as much as the first wave thing is over, I think the economic thing, we are nowhere near out of this. We are nowhere near out of it. This is a bit rumbly, but if you think about, say, even in just the 21st century, there's been two massive events in our society. The Trade Center coming down, and then the what we call it here in Japan, the Lehman shock. I don't know what it's called overseas, that 2000, just before Obama was elected, that financial crisis there. Those things were huge shocks to the system and stuff, and panic and put it back together, and then, okay, we've fixed that. But actually, no, both of those things had repercussions that are still hugely echoing now. The World Trade Center coming down, it was the whole Middle East, Afghanistan, Iraq thing, the trillions of dollars, the beginning of the end for America's international stature. It's echoing and reverberating and affecting our lives every day still, 2 decades later. The Lehman shock thing too, here in Japan, certainly. It's still very much a thing here that has shaped society. And this one, I think this is bigger than both of those combined. And even though it looks like we hit this punch and now we're staggering and we're standing back up and actually looks like we're going to make it through this thing, the ramifications for changing so many things in society are going to play out over decades. Decades. We have no idea yet. The social changes and financial changes and economic changes that are going to happen because of this thing. It's still day one. We're still in the first act, the first inning. Second inning. Okay, the first inning was the onset of the virus, and we've done the first wave, and we're standing up. We're in the second inning or something now. Sort of, you ain't seen nothing yet. I don't say that in a pessimistic way. We're all going to die. What I mean is I'm talking about the changes in society that we can't even think about recognizing just yet. For the rest of my life, I'm 68 now, and this thing is going to echo and reverberate and keep changing things for the rest of my life. This is the defining moment for the last act of Dave's life here. Everything from here on in is going to be shaped by this thing. Again, I don't say that as a pessimist, I say that as an observer. There could be lots of really cool things, really neat things that come out of this. I don't know. Now, at the bottom of this thing that goes under his belly here, I guess it's hard to tell, but I think there's supposed to be it's hard to tell what it is. Did they do writing? Is it supposed to be kanji characters, the logo of the guy who tied this all up or something? I don't know. I'm not too worried about it. I think I'm just going to... I went through this. Remember, this is all carved. I carved this thing myself here 20 years ago. I think I wrestled with this at the time, trying to figure out if it was supposed to be readable characters or just something. The fact that it's in a circle made it look like it was a piece of cloth with a design on it. I gave up on it then and just carved shapes, and I think I'm going to do the same thing now. I'm just going to fill just as I see it here, without any attempt to try and make it readable or understandable. That thing about changing society, even already now here in Japan, there's been a massive, massive social change in the thing about they call it here terewako, working from home. We've sort of seen this coming for many years once the internet got started, and there's been this thought that many people should be working from home instead of those jammed trains and stuff like that. And government and corporations have sort of made efforts to try and push that forward, but it never, ever, ever got going. You got to get in there, got to do your FaceTime, got to put your hanko on the paper, got to talk to the boss, And now there's been this experience over the past few months of a whole bunch of people finding out that, wow, that actually, it wasn't too bad. I didn't have to get on that train every morning, and didn't have to sit there with my boss looking over my shoulder, whatever. So that's one example. I could be an optimist about this. It could, X months from now, go back to being exactly the same. Maybe this society here has got an inbuilt inertia that will take it back to the way it was, or maybe not. Maybe this will be one of those things that kicks massive change. My God, those morning rush hour trains, surely anything to get away from that. Coming along. You can see how this would go, What have I been? I've been at this for about an hour or so. Just, relaxing with this thing. And you can see, what would be your estimate if we had this thing now? There we go. We're going to carve this guy and the horse and this guy. We're going to leave out the man with the basket. So given my time so far on this has been about an hour or so. Okay, there's another leg, this guy here. You can see, I don't think I could get it done before lunch, I don't think, because this hair is going to take some time in the horse. But okay, giving it a wild overestimate, easily within today, if there was nothing else to do. I've got to go upstairs and do sizing this afternoon. But if there was nothing else going on, you could see that this key block here would easily be done on a very peaceful, easy day's work. There's then going to be 3 color blocks, an outline background for the thing. There's going to be a gray, well, you can see, there's going to be an outline tone at the background. There's going to be a gray, which will fill some patches. And then there's going to be a horse color. So that would be another 1-2 couple of days work, something like this, if there was nothing else going on. A carver's job, we can actually really be productive, If you sit down and keep your nose at it and just quietly chip away. People that are new to this think, oh my God, it's so old-fashioned, get a laser, get a CNC, oh my God, why are you wasting so much time? It's actually hugely productive. It's hugely productive. wall hangings, that's the landlady. She refreshes once every 3, 4, 5 months or so. It's not just decided. The landlady, she has a friend who's in the antique fabric business, and the two of them natter together and they talk about this and that. And at first I had nothing here, and the landlady was, oh my God, it's so bare, it's so sparse. She came in the shop actually when we did the opening for the first floor. It was a funny conversation. This is an art shop. We sell pictures and stuff. So she came in and there was nothing on the walls. Nothing on the walls here. And I'm like, this is the way I like it. We've got our sign, we've got the browser bins full of prints. I did not want random prints scattered all over the walls. And she says, oh my God, it looks so bare. Put some stuff up. And I tried to explain that I didn't want a bunch of random stuff. And she brought, it was quite dark. She brought a dark black wall hanging for here. But it's your landlady, whatever. No problem. So I said, thank you very much. And we hung it up and away it went. Then the 3, 4, 5 months later went by and the season changed, and she brought another. I think this is the 4th one we're on now. I can't remember exactly. I'm sorry. Each one we carefully take it down and fold it and get it washed and fold it up. You know. And for her point of view, these are very, very, very expensive. It's some antique kimono, whatever. I know nothing about it myself, but she's trying to be friendly and she's happy and trying to dress up our lives here, so it's okay. It's not what I would have chosen myself to be part of our shop here. I think it sort of spoils the little woody mood we've done, but in no way, that's fine by me, you know. It's the relationship with anybody, you know. You don't try and win every battle, whatever. Will it be willing to say yes. Yes, exactly. John's got the idea. You roll with it. There's hills to die on, and there's things that are irrelevant. Just pleasant working with people and letting them have their way, and you have your way sometimes. And anybody who tries to control too much of life, I have a problem with this all the time, of course, because I try and control sometimes the printers and carvers to a degree that they think is, where do you draw the line? Anyway. It's 9:15, 9:16. Let's do our little show and tell. As I said, there's 2 parts to it. We will pick this up again. What's today? Today's Monday morning. I guess I'll be back here Thursday morning cutting the next leg on this horse. Because my next few days now are really set aside. Today, as I said, today is sizing this afternoon and perhaps tomorrow morning as well. And then cats, the 8 cats, it has got to go online. We need a promotional email heading out with cats and some other stuff. And so I am busy for the next couple of days. And then I got to fix all the disasters I made on the website yesterday. There's probably a list of errata. Okay. First up, something small. As I said, something small. Kawaii-san, we showed you, where was it? What's wrong? I showed you this a week or so ago. Remember, we had these old Takamizawa wood blocks which we're working on. And Kawai-san did the first one as a test. He turned out this really, really well. We're sitting it here on my desk trying to figure out what to do with it. But he then turned in the next job. Here it is. I prepared it here. He sent in the next one the other day, and this is Asakusa relevant. Here is Kawai-san's latest job for us. And I showed you these blocks when we were getting this ready. I showed you the wood block, and I think we did some carving. I may have showed you his test print because it came back and the red was off alignment and the sky was no good. So I carved 2 new blocks for this. And this is the old Kaminarimon. This is the 1860s version of Kaminarimon. And it's really interesting to question how much is realistic and how much is exaggerated. The current Kaminarimon is really, really, really small. We know that's not the original. The original was more like the gates we see in front of Sensoji. We know Kaminarimon used to be massive. The quick history about the place, it was built in the 16s, 15s or whatever, little gate, burned down, built it again, burned down. In the early 1800s, they built a spectacular gate, which I guess is what this is. And then somewhere in the 1860s, it burned down again. And it must have burned down at a time when there was one of those periodic famines and financial trouble. Didn't have any money to put it up. So it stayed with no Kaminarimon gate there. And that area from the main street outside going up towards Sensoji. This is Nakamise that goes up towards Sensoji off to the left there. For 100 years, there was no gate there. There was no Kaminarimon. People who were born in this area, my friend Sadako, she comes from around this area. She's born in Fusa, but she grew up, went to school here in Asakusa. she didn't even know that there was such a thing as kaminarima. This is the era she and I are born in the same year, 50s, 60s. There was no kaminarima. Then when the Olympics were planned, somebody, I have no idea who started it, the idea was, let's make a symbol for Tokyo, let's do this, let's build up again, blah, 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 blah. And they had the idea for putting up a new kaminarima. Now, they didn't make one as big as this one. They made the one you see now, and it was financed and supported by Matsushita Konosuke, the leader of Matsushita Denki, Panasonic. Anyway, I talk too much. This is the old Takamizawa set of blocks, and it's marked as being Hiroshige. Hiroshige print, and this is Nakamise, and this is Asakusa Kaminarimon. But it looks like Hiroshige 2, and I think it's from one of those prints at the mid-Meiji period. They were still hanging on to the remnants of ukiyo-e. And Kawai-san has done a wonderful, I keep saying the same, just get a tape recorder, Dave, just press the play button. My printers are so good. Look at this, oops. That's about as far as we're going to get. I mean, look at the scale. Where's my finger for scale? Look at this massive finger. These are people walking around. The one I pointed out before, do you see this little old lady? Look at this little lady walking around with her cane. Just give me a break. And this is the new. I carved a red block to replace the old one, which wasn't quite aligned, and I carved a new sky block so Kawai-san could do a nice, neat, clean gradation. So you're seeing a mixed set of blocks, so blocks from the 1920s or so, and carved last week. And just the scale. And yeah, the registration is tight. You're talking about control freak. This is what I was talking about a few minutes ago. Dave, the control freak. There's time to let go, and there's a time to turn the screws, you know. So anyway, that's 2 now of these old prints, and Kawai-san, as we speak, is working on the 3rd one. So once we get 3 of them up, we are going to start putting these out into the website. And it won't be a series, there won't be subscriptions, they'll be individual prints. I think they're going to be around 6,000. We can't do them for 4,000, the same as our other small postcard prints. But because they're so small, we can't honestly justify going much more than that. There's also questions. There's so many questions. The guy here, you know the deal, right? When they had those daimyo gyoretsu, the processions with the nobles going in and out of Edo, they had 2 guys with these long posts with the symbols up on top. Now, what's this guy doing walking around town with one of those things all by himself? Is this part of a procession? I don't think so. This is just guys pushing a bunch of bags of rice. I'd really, really like to look into this. There's a bunch of people, they've set up shop in the middle of the street here. There's obviously people allowed to set their shops up here, but there's other people, merchants, who have dumped their stuff and they're selling it in the middle of the street. Anyway. Leading a tour group, that's right, maybe. You know, you laugh. That might be it. You know, they do the thing with the flag now. Could that be it? Is that the leader and these people behind him? Samurai, they got samurai swords, I think. These guys are carrying stuff. I wonder. He's got a camera on it, that's right. Pre-modern drones. Let's get this view of Sensoji. We see this here every day now. Because the tourists are not here, there's a huge boom now in virtual tours in Tokyo. And I see every day, with no exaggeration, 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day, I hear a Western voice coming down. It's a Japanese guy speaking English. And now this is the famous Doktori Street, and I think at first it's one of the rickshaws, and it's not. It's a guy with a little Osmo, and he's got a camera, and he's talking, and he's taking people on a virtual tour, and he can see them sitting on their sofa in Arizona or whatever, and here they are, seeing it. This has become a real big deal. Personalized guided tours here in Japan. Okay, put that away. Okay, that's 2 up and running. 3rd one coming next week, and after that online. Now, that wasn't the real show and tell. The real show and tell is this. The next David's Choice video is going to be about the Tokaido. And because of that, you've heard this, that last video I made. I've been looking up lots and lots and lots of different stuff from the Tokaido. And one of the sets I have upstairs, it's a broken set. I have a photocopy of the mokuji, the index, table of contents. That's a photocopy. The other parts are prints. And this is Hiroshige, quote, unquote. And this is a Hiroshige Tokaido set. Hiroshige Tokaido Set. He's known for doing over 30 different sets of Tokaido prints. The famous one we all know is what's called the Hoeido, because of its publisher, but he did lots and lots of others. And this is known as his Kyoka Tokaido. Kyoka being a type of comic satirical poetry. And this set of the Tokaido has poems built in, put on each one. Now what I've got here, this is hugely interesting, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to show you all the details of this. This is not an original set, the Kyoka series, but this is a set that was made probably while Hiroshige was still alive. This is Meiji, 8 Meiji, certainly while Hiroshige too was still alive. So this is maybe 1880s or 1890s, somewhere like that. At first glance, it looks like a normal woodblock print. It's on sort of washi. It's carved and printed. When you look at it under the microscope, you can see it's carved and printed. On the back, it doesn't have barren marks. And yet the pigment is coming in through the back of the paper. It's water-based pigment pressed into the paper, but there are no striations from rubbing the barren. There are brush striations. It was made from wood blocks. We see more than one copy of the same print. We can see where the misregistration is. We can see misregistrations here and there. It looks like a sort of crumbly made woodblock print. What it is, it's what we now call Kikai Mokuhanga. Kikai is mechanical. There's Kikai washi, which instead of being made by hand, it's made in rollers and blah, 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 blah. And this is Kikai Mokuhanga. It was done from blocks, and the same blocks we've seen sometimes used to make real hanga, and the same blocks used to make Kikai hanga. There's two ways to tell them apart. As I said, on the back, there's no barren striations. And on the front, almost every color has brush marks moving completely horizontally, and only horizontally. Let me try and grab another copy where it's more vivid. Here we are. Look at this. Let me grab another one here. We pull it out. I don't know if you can see the brush strokes. This green has lines all the way across it. The gray has lines all the way across it. The brush strokes are completely horizontal. And the way they were made, we don't have the actual machine, and I would love to know the actual detail. The block goes on the table. The guy has a single wide brush that covers the green thing altogether. Pigment is somehow tapped on the side of it. Sa. 2 or 3 or 4 strokes, side to side with the brush that would make the green. And it may have been actually held in a jig, because these lines are always absolutely horizontal. There's no sweeping curve. There's nothing about hand motion. It's all suk, left to right. Brush then goes to the side, paper comes out, on, and then a thing came up from the top, and kaboom, and there we go. Up it comes, and you've printed it. I don't know what it looks like. I don't have the thing, whether it was a printing press like Andy English is, the paper comes down and you crank down, nobody knows. There's no striations. It's simply a single shot, bang, bang. And there's never any tamari. When we brush with paste and whatever, it builds up. When you brush this way, the paste builds up on this side of the lines. These things don't show any tamari whatsoever. Soup, horizontal, paper on, bang from the top, off she goes. But we have got prints where the same wood blocks are used for normal prints. So they are a normal, quote unquote, set of wood blocks. I don't know how they did registration. We never see registration pigment in the corners, and the registration could have been separate. You get the block lined up on the table first, like the Chinese do, and then you just stack your paper all up on it. And these are junk. They're in the dealer shops downtown in Kanda. They're nothing. Even though they're original prints from the Meiji time, they're worth absolutely nothing. You can pick them up for whatever, $4, $5, $10, whatever. And sometimes the registration is just to cry for. There you go. There's your Mr. Control Freak. Look at the mountain gray here. Has pushed completely right the way over. And it's pushed over all the way across. So it's just careless. The guy who did it just didn't care. It's pushed out of this tree. Maybe that single sheet of paper was just not laid on very carefully, or maybe they didn't get the alignment of the jig or whatever up. Who knows? No idea. They're fun. They're real Japanese woodblock prints. But and also, too, look at this. This series, the Kyoka Tokaido, was done, I think, 2 years after the famous Hoedo set. And lots of them have not the same design, but Hiroshige has done, well, let's see, I don't quite have a new idea today. So this is, what's this place? This is Ishibe. If you think back to the one, in my video last week, I showed the Tokaido picture of Akasaka, not Asakusa, Akasaka, which showed an L-shaped view of an inn with some maids getting ready and a guy coming back from the bath. And we've got the same concept in the same isometric viewpoint. It's labeled with a different place. Guys in the bath. It's actually historically really useful, you know. This would have been a realistic viewpoint of what this was like back in the old days. There's the guys in the bath. You tell me, what's this? This is outside here. Now that would be a wash tub maybe? But it's at the same level as the walkway. No idea. There's a guy in the bath, and someone has just come out of it. He's got his bucket, the same as we do right now. Not much has changed there. And basically the same scene. Oh, look at this. Yeah, I didn't mention that in the video. The dinner scene there. The guys were waiting for their dinner. There was a maid coming in the door bringing the food tray. And right behind the maid was a bit of a strange guy making a gesture. He was a masseuse. They used blind people for this. That was a major job for masseuse. And here we are. The masseuse here is at work. They must be getting ready for dinner. He's back from the bath. He's had his smoke. This is his tea and smoking tray. The lady's now bringing dinner. And he's just finishing up with a massage. No idea what other entertainments might be on tap in the evening. I don't know. There's so much information in these things. They're so much fun. So much fun. We have these sometimes in our antique corner. I usually don't, when they come up on auctions, I usually don't bid on them so much because they're sort of so crummy. Can you see the lines? Can you see the horizontal? The horizontal striations, they're exactly horizontal. The brush is in some kind of jig, scraping it back and forth. Or maybe even just once, sup. Maybe one stroke is enough, I don't know. We don't have the whole set. We sort of have the idea. There's this set completion thing that people have built into their brains. I don't have the full set of 57, and I'm not in any way going to try and hunt up the rest. Very, very similar to the main Tokaido. Very similar. Almost every one looks like a different reworking of something that was in that other previous series. Anyway, there, at some point, we will get down our collection to things like this. This is not a high priority for me, getting substandard prints like this into our collection, but it would be at some point an interesting thing to put into our collection and have them online. But another part of the background story of the old ukiyo-e prints. These aren't ladders. These are, of course, somebody would sit on these things. I don't think there's somebody using one. If you imagine it looks like a ladder, 4 guys would pick it up, or 2 people, and in the ladder section in the middle, that's where people sit for heading across the river. No, there's almost no embossing on these. Almost nothing. Our embossing happens with a thick, juicy paper being rubbed over a varied block. these things are flat to the touch, almost flat to the touch. If I were blind, no, it's flat. It's flat. There's nothing that would tell you that it's a print. It hasn't been pressed deeply into the matrix. Somebody very rich. There we are. This is part of a daimyo procession getting across the river. Those are the things I mentioned before. The symbol marks. Two guys run in front of the procession with the marks. And inside here we would have Mr. Big Cheese himself getting taken across the river. Okay, enough. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. We've had a pleasant 90 minutes here, getting a little bit of work done. I'll be back again. It's 3 days I'm off now. I'll be back Thursday morning. And in between, there should be lots of action on the net. We're getting the cats should be open, and perhaps the small prints will be open. I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll get stuff up and running. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope there's been something of interest to you. And for me now, I'm going to grab my morning coffee and get busy sizing, and more sizing, and more sizing, because we are busy. We are busy. Thanks very much, and I'll see you next time. I'm looking forward to lots of comments about my screw-ups on the web programming yesterday. See you tomorrow. Thanks, guys. Thursday.